Welcome to Dopamine Clinic, the place where you'll unlock the secrets of your mind and transform your life. In today's episode, we'll explore the subconscious mind, the hidden force that shapes our beliefs, actions, and ultimate potential. He was always the funny one, the guy cracking jokes in class. The one with the memes, the laughs, the good vibes. But what nobody saw was that he cried himself to sleep almost every night, that he had thoughts he never dared speak out loud, that he once wrote a goodbye letter and burned it before sunrise, because deep down, he didn't want to die. He just didn't want to feel this empty anymore. You see it every day, kids laughing, posting selfies, going viral, but underneath, so many are drowning. You don't always see depression with dark rooms and sad playlists. Sometimes, it wears a smile. That's the new epidemic, silent depression. Especially in young people. Especially in boys who were told, man up. Especially in girls who were told, don't be dramatic, so they smile, they post. They play the role, and inside, they break. Let me tell you about Elijah. He was 17, captain of the debate team. Class clown, smart, everyone liked him, but one night, he DM'd me something I'll never forget. I don't think I matter to anyone unless I'm funny. Behind the jokes was a kid who hadn't felt joy in 2 years. Why? Because he was carrying invisible wounds. A father who left, a mother who worked 2 jobs and never asked how he felt. Friends who only hit him up when they were bored, and he thought, if I disappear, would anything change? That's how deep it gets. Most youth don't even realize they're depressed. Because it doesn't always feel like sadness, sometimes it feels like fatigue, brain fog, irritation, overthinking, numbness. The feeling of floating through life, and when you try to explain it, people say, just be grateful. It's just a phase. You have nothing to be sad about. That's called invalidating pain. And it makes things worse. When your mind is told over and over that your emotions don't matter, it adapts. It buries the pain, but it doesn't go away. It shows up as addiction. It shows up as fake confidence. It shows up as isolation. That's not weakness. That's unprocessed trauma. Now here's where it gets darker. You open Instagram. Everyone's smiling, living, loving, traveling, winning, and you're sitting in bed, feeling like a ghost. That's not an accident. That's how the system works. Social media is built to highlight fantasy, not reality. And when you compare your broken moments to someone else's highlight reel, you feel worthless, even though they're faking too. Elijah used to scroll through pictures of happy couples, influencers, luxury lifestyles, while battling suicidal thoughts. The gap between his screen life and real life became unbearable. He told me, I feel like everyone's living, and I'm just existing. That's how digital depression works. It doesn't just make you feel bad, it makes you feel broken. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, describes something called the shadow self. It's the part of you that you hide, the pain you don't talk about, the rage you suppress, the fear you deny. The more you reject it, the louder it gets. Not in words, in symptoms, like depression, like addiction, like emotional numbness. Elijah didn't need pills. He needed to face the parts of himself he hated. So we started the work. I asked him one question. What's something you've never told anyone? He paused, then said, I hate how fake I am. And then he broke down. That was the beginning of healing. Not therapy, not affirmations, telling the truth to himself. We started journaling every day, one raw question. What's something I regret? What's hurting me right now? Who am I pretending to be? No filters, no masks, just truth. That's shadow work, and it's not pretty. But it's liberating. Elijah used to have his earbuds in 24/7s, music, podcasts, anything to escape his own thoughts. So we did a 48-hour silence challenge. No distractions, no screens, just him and his mind. He said, "It felt like being locked in a room with a stranger. Except the stranger was me." That's when he realized he'd never been alone with his pain enough to process it. Solitude isn't loneliness. It's exposure therapy for your emotions. And in that silence, you start hearing the truth. We flipped the script. Instead of trying to escape the depression, we asked, "What is this trying to tell you?" Because emotions aren't enemies, they're messengers. His sadness was screaming, "You need connection." His anger was saying, "You need boundaries." His numbness was revealing, "You've been ignoring yourself for too long." We turned those signals into actions. He started calling one friend per week. No memes, just real talk. He blocked the people who always made him feel small. He wrote letters to his dad, not to send, but to speak what was unsaid. And slowly, the fog started to lift. This is where most youth get trapped. They try to beat depression with positive vibes only. Just manifest better feelings, think happy thoughts. But you don't treat a deep wound with a motivational quote. You treat it by cleaning it, stitching it, facing it. Real recovery isn't about feeling good all the time. It's about building strength in the dark. Elijah didn't cure his depression, he faced it, and that made him powerful. 2 months in, something amazing happened. He cried, real, deep, painful crying. But this time, he wasn't ashamed. He said, "It didn't feel like weakness, it felt like release." That's when you know healing is happening. Not when you feel happy, but when you start to feel again. He began laughing more. Not for attention, but because moments actually felt good. He started feeling grateful. Not fake gratitude, real. The numbness was fading. Because the truth was rising. The epidemic isn't sadness, it's suppression. The silence, the pretending, the masks. That's what's killing youth. You're not weak, you're not crazy. You're not broken, you're just exhausted from carrying pain that was never yours alone to carry. Elijah didn't become some perfect, healed man, but he became real, and real is what saves you. In the silence, he met himself, and finally realized he was never alone. After 60 days of silence, journaling, and inner war, Elijah didn't feel healed, he felt aware. For the first time in years, he knew who he was, and who he wasn't. He still had bad days, but he no longer felt lost in them. And that's where real strength begins, not in feeling good, but in knowing what to do when you don't. Depression strips you of identity. You forget who you were before the darkness. So we began the next step, rebuilding the core. 1. Who were you before you got numb? I asked Elijah, who were you before the fake smiles? Before the jokes, he paused, then said, I used to love writing, so he started again. At first, just a few sentences a day. But eventually, poetry, spoken word, pages, and with every sentence, his voice came back. Not the one he used online, not the one for approval, but the real one, the scarred one, the honest one. That's the first law of healing. You don't find yourself by chasing positivity, you remember yourself through truth. 2. The mirror ritual, confronting the present self. We created a brutal ritual. Every night, Elijah would stand in front of the mirror and ask, what am I hiding? What am I avoiding? What part of me am I ashamed of? And then, out loud, he'd answer himself. It felt weird, painful, embarrassing at first. But then he said something powerful. I've lied to everyone else for so long. I didn't realize I was lying to myself too. Facing the mirror was harder than facing other people, because it forces you to look at your shadow, the parts of you that have been waiting to be seen. You don't escape depression by avoiding emotions. You escape by building emotional resilience. And that takes training, just like the gym. Here's what we used. 1. Emotional cold showers. Not actual showers, psychological ones. Every morning, he had to write one fear, one insecurity, one thing he was ashamed of, and then respond to it like a coach would. This fear is not reality. It's a script. This shame is a ghost. I am no longer that person. This created a new pattern. Feel greater than face, greater than reframe. Pain wasn't avoided. It was transformed. 2. The 3-1-1 grounding rule. Depression loves to pull your mind into the future or the past. So we built an anchor. Every time he felt anxious or empty, Elijah used 3 slow breaths. Grounding phrase: I'm here, I'm safe, I'm alive. Physical action: punch the air, splash water, touch stone. It sounds small, but that 30-second ritual saved him countless spirals. It gave his brain a pattern: interrupt, a way to return to the moment. 3. The rule of one connection. Every day, Elijah had to make one real connection, not texting, not memes, not "yo, what's up?" One real interaction. A call with emotion, a voice note, an honest DM, a hug, or just saying "I'm not okay" when someone asked how he was. He used to say, "I don't want to be a burden." But I told him, "You're not a burden. You're a human being, and connection is your medicine." That's what youth are missing. Not more advice, more presence. After 3 months, Elijah wasn't healed. But he was no longer hiding. He started sharing his writing anonymously. He posted poems about pain, masculinity, silence. People started commenting things like, "I thought I was the only one who felt this. This hit me harder than anything I've read all year." And that's when Elijah realized, my pain wasn't useless, it was my message. In dark psychology, there's a tactic called mirroring, where people reflect back what others hide, forcing truth to surface. Elijah became a mirror. His story gave other people permission to speak their own. This is how the epidemic ends, not through medication alone, not through silence, not through fake positivity, but through vulnerability that cuts deep, stories that crack the mask, and connection that doesn't require perfection. 12 months after that first breakdown, Elijah wasn't just alive, he was awake. He hosted a spoken word night at school. He started a podcast about emotional resilience for young men. He got therapy, not because he was broken, but because he wanted to sharpen his awareness. He helped her friends come off antidepressants with doctor support. He spoke at a youth event and shared everything, no filters, no ego, just truth. He didn't need followers. He didn't need validation. He had himself. And once you have that, the world loses its grip on you. Maybe you're like Elijah. Maybe you laugh in public and break in silence. Maybe your feed is full, but your heart feels empty. Maybe you've screamed into your pillow and no one heard you. Hear this now. You are not alone. Not in your thoughts. Not in your exhaustion. Not in your desire to be seen without having to explain yourself. You don't need to fix everything today. You just need to stop running from your own voice, because beneath the pain, there's a version of you that's already waiting. He's not scared. He's not numb. He's not fake. He's real. And he's ready. This is not about getting better. This is about coming home. To the version of you before the trauma, before the masks, before the world told you to shut up and smile. You are not your depression. You are not your worst thought. You are not your silence. You are the storm that survived. Now rise like it. He didn't heal by escaping the darkness. He healed by learning how to walk through it with his eyes wide open.